Hey there, thanks so much for coming by my channel. I am so excited that you've decided to check out this video. I'm going to be talking about the critical strategies and mindset shifts that you need to take your very first steps into shifting your relationship with money. So what I mean by this is the actual strategy that you can implement, whether it be with your personal finances or business finances, in starting to manage your money, and the critical mindset shift you're also going to want to make. I also talk about where the current financial management industry is at, where I have problems with it, and why I'm so different. For those of you who don't know me, I am Eleanor Prisco, and I work as a money and mindset coach, and I'm all about bringing the most. If you enjoyed this video, or hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe. These are all free actions you can take, and they always help out my channel. I hope you enjoy this video and training. So to give you a heads up, day one is all about how to start actually taking action with managing your money from the business to the personal financial side. We're going to be talking about strategies that you want to take to implement shifting and starting to manage your money, whether it be on the business or personal side, and mindset shifts that you're going to want to make to start allowing, right, that more empowered energy to come through. And that's what we really want. I think that so many of us are, searching for that shift into being able to trust ourselves with money, being able to trust money in general, right? Being able to feel like it's all going to be okay, being able to develop really beautiful, financially stable futures, either from our business or just in our personal finances. So over the next 4 days, we're going to be talking about a variety of different topics, but today is all about getting started with taking action with your money and being able to actually start managing it, right? But in a way that is grounded in ease, in pleasure, in, enjoyment and empowerment. So with that in mind, I kind of want to hop in, and I want to talk about first, why is it so important? Like, why is our money relationship so important, right? Because I think a lot of us know, like, oh, I can definitely feel that, like, my relationship with money is important. And I can feel the importance that I need to pay attention to here, that, like, this is something that's critical for me to be aware of. And I can see, how it's maybe influencing things, or I can see that I've maybe faced a scarcity mindset from a very young age. And it's something that's, been impacting me. And so for those of you who are watching live or catching the replay, definitely let me know in the comments below, have you struggled with a scarcity mindset? Have you struggled with, your relationship with money, impacting a number of areas of your life? And so let me talk about this for a minute, because I think that a lot of people in the financial management industry don't necessarily talk about this aspect of how our money relationship goes underground and can impact so many aspects of our life. And that's why when I talk about empowerment, when I talk about stability, when I talk about financial security or building a successful business, I truly do believe that it all starts with our money, right? If we want to be making more money, it all comes back to managing our money in a different way. If we want to be saving, if we want to create higher levels of financial security, it all really comes back to how we engage with our money. So let me break this down for a minute. So our money relationship goes underground and definitely impacts our romantic relationship, how the dynamic we have with our partner, how we engage with each other around our finances, maybe what feelings happen between us of who is the higher earner, who is the lesser earner, feeling appreciated. It can definitely pop up as well in how we parent, how we relate to our kids, how we teach them about money, how we respond, right? Or maybe even react to them wanting something that maybe we can't provide for them in that moment, right? It also relates to how we earn, right? Whether this be in your business or at a job, right, that is in more of a corporate setting, it really impacts how we relate to our own value, how we see, like, if we feel appreciated by our clients, by our job, if we feel fulfilled, right? If we're feeling full, like, because if we're not feeling fully supported, we may be constantly throwing energy at our business that it's not enough, right? And that dynamic is coming from our money. So I'm going to check in with comments real quick. I'm seeing so true. Money connects to everything in our lives. Absolutely. And so that's why I know that it's so important for us to start shifting our relationship with money. And it's not something that the current financial industry talks about or does, right? Taking this holistic approach of understanding that we have a relationship with money rather than just like this rigid structure around what you should be doing with your money is vastly different. So this also bubbles up in our relationships with friends. I think, a lot of times we think, oh, maybe it doesn't come up, but it could totally come up with our relationship with friends, as I've seen from myself or my clients, right? When you're feeling like, oh, can you be social if you can't necessarily afford to go out? And it doesn't feel good, right? To be like saying, I can't afford it, right? Instead of like, oh, I'm choosing not to spend my money there, right? That really, clear choice of language, right? But if we're feeling like we can't afford it, and that's the script and narrative that's happening, it can be really challenging to overcome that and navigate that. So there can be a lot of pressure that happens in our friendships, right? And then just in general as well, the feelings that we have around emotional security. Okay. So if you have grown up in financial lack, if you've grown up in financial struggle, which is something I personally know and, lived as a child, it can create a lot of scarcity feelings. It can create a lot of feelings of emotional insecurity because you're literally like, oh, is this actually safe? Like, can I trust this money? Can I trust this job? Can I trust these clients? Can I trust what I've built? Can I trust, this company? And it can really bubble up constant feelings of fear, of, oh my gosh, like, am I going to be able to support myself? Am I going to be a burden to others? Am I going to be dependent on others? Am I really going to have this independence, this financial security? And that can influence how we show up vulnerably in relationships, right? Or if we show up as our authentic self, because what we're focusing on is attempting emotional security, but we may be going about it in a very, funky way. So it's very, very important for us to develop healthy ways in which we engage with our money, whether that be on the personal side or the business side. I'm going to be focusing, on both of those throughout this 4-day workshop, but it's super, super important for us to understand the impact. And so the challenge that we face, right, is that in the current financial management industry, they are very strategically focused. And maybe when you go into the coaching industry, you're seeing a lot of mindset focused. And let me know if you've kind of run into this in programs that maybe you've signed up for, or maybe that's kind of what's veered you away from certain programs, or maybe in books that you've read, right? They're very strategy heavy or mindset heavy. And they'll just be like, you just need to do your mindset work. You need to mindset. And don't get me wrong. I think mindset is a huge aspect of what has allowed me to build a successful business, what has allowed me to transform my relationship with my money, what has allowed me to support my clients and guide them through that. And another aspect is taking those strategic actions. However, the current financial management industry is one that focuses in on the strategy and is very rigid about what those strategies look like and what will lead to success. And so if you have, fallen into those very rigid strategies, you probably have experienced a lot of shame, a lot of guilt that is so common. And I want you to know that you're not alone when it comes to the financial management industry, right? It is one that wants you to feel that shame for wanting or even going and getting that coffee out, right? That $5 coffee, how dare you spend that, right? Or, leaning in and saying like, oh, I'm going to go to this cafe and like, buy that coffee out. So, or that, croissant, or like, oh, going and shopping, or going to get your nails done, or, buying makeup, right? There's all these things that are like, those are your wants, and they shouldn't be taken into consideration if you want to build financial stability and security. And so that's something I have really, really worked to challenge in my community and with the feminine finance methodology, because I realized, having grown up in a household that struggled financially, I was like, wow, this really doesn't work for me. So I leaned into a lot of self-education around finances, but I also found that that did not feel good at all, right? It told me to shame myself and guilt myself for my desires of wanting to travel, for enjoying dining out, for, liking to go shopping and having beautiful clothes that felt good, right? For enjoying those delicious coffees out. All those things I was supposed to cut out, and I was supposed to make myself feel a lot of shame and guilt if I prioritized them, right? Because if I did that, then I was sacrificing financial security. It was very black and white. It was one or the other. Let me know if you've experienced this in the comments, in your own money journey. If you also have been like, yeah, I felt shame around, buying makeup. I felt shame around getting my hair done or things like that. There are all these things that are like, oh, those are just wants and needs. They're not, they're, wants and desires, right? They're not needs. And I want you to know that you're not alone, right? So I think that, one of the biggest challenges about that, how do we create sustainable change in our financial relationship, in our money relationship? And so that was one of the biggest things that led me to shift into creating the feminine finance methodology. I was like, okay, like this needs to be something that actually takes into consideration, desire, and takes into consideration, what we want in life. And so that's why, that's what led me to have two of the pillars be sustainability and adaptability in the feminine finance methodology. And the feminine finance methodology is one that I have developed over my years working as a money and mindset coach. And they are 5 pillars that kind of guide the mindset and strategy when it comes to managing your business finances or your personal finances. And it's leaning into and understanding, oh, if I want to create a sustainable relationship, there's certain things that I need to take into consideration. And if I want to, again, create that sustainability, if I want to stay on track with my financial plan, I need to be adaptable, right? Because the other thing that comes up in the financial management industry is one that is, this is the rigid plan that you must follow. And if real life happens, then, you've done something wrong, right? And so we're not very adaptable, right? The financial plan that we receive is very rigid. And so all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, like how do I navigate this real life thing that happened? Something as simple as back to school shopping coming, which I know is coming up for so many of you. Like, it's like, oh yeah, back to school shopping. The kids are going to need a whole new set of clothes. And it's like, oh my gosh, I then go into beating myself up because we spent so much on just like back to school shopping of supplies and new clothes and all of that, right? But it's like, oh, what if that didn't have to be my reality, right? This can also happen in your business of like, you're going along and you're growing your business and you're working at being sustainable. And like all of a sudden, maybe you fall sick and it's like, oh, I need to have someone still posting for me. And so I need to hire someone. And so like, it's like, oh, I shouldn't have fallen sick. I shouldn't have had this happen. And we now are spending more money because I need to like make up for this ability to stay present on social, right? That can definitely happen. And so I'm seeing in the comments, definitely experience shame and spending on myself and negativity from others as well. Exactly. I think that a lot of people can become triggered when they see us spending on ourselves, when they see us spending, how they, what is triggering to them, right? Of like, oh, you're spending too much, you're spending on yourself, and that's not okay. And so I think that that is something that, it's really hard to overcome. And it's a really big aspect of knowing that you're not alone. And the other thing that the industry really does is it silos us off to think that like, oh, we can't be in community and we're not the only one, like you're the only one experiencing this. And that's just not true. And so that's why I want us to lean into, bringing ease and pleasure to your money management. And I'm going to talk about a very specific strategy to do so, because day one is all about how can you step into actually managing your money and doing it with ease and pleasure and being able to enjoy it. Because as I've talked about, right, the current financial management industry does not promote this, right? It gives you this very rigid structure and is kind of like, this is how it needs to be done. And if you don't like fit within this box, then you've done it wrong. And a lot of times those systems aren't necessarily sustainable. They're not adaptable. They don't take into consideration real life or where we're at financially or the cost of living that has gone up insanely so. So I want to know if, for you, when it comes to these aspects of considering actually engaging with your money, what are the first feelings that come up? Let me know in the comments, right? Because a lot of times, it can feel very overwhelming. It can feel stressful. It can feel like you don't even know where to begin. It can feel like, oh my gosh, I've tried this before and it didn't work. And so like, I just am no good with money. And I really want to let you know that like, most likely you have never been taught how to engage with money in a sustainable way, right? Like you have not been educated. It is nowhere in our education system, right? It is not in elementary school. It is not in high school. It is not in universities. Like you're not being taught how to engage with finances, let alone small business finances or, business finances in general. It is, kind of hidden in this ivory tower of complexity of being like, oh, well, only your accountant can understand, business finances or a bookkeeper. And like, there's no way for you to understand it. And so I really want us to start to challenge, right? I want to invite you into challenging that narrative and saying, oh, actually, what if I have not been taught how to engage with finances? And so the ways that I have seen, or maybe that I've tested out, that I've done a little pleasure research around, right, that you've tried before, books you've read or other courses you've taken, have actually just not been the right fit. And there are other ways out there, ones that I'm going to be talking about over the next 4 days. So let's hop in here. And I want to say, okay, how do we start bringing ease and pleasure to money management, either on the personal or business side, right? So let's go ahead and talk about the strategy of a money date. So if you are new to my community, maybe you probably haven't seen me talk about this, but if you are not new to my community, you definitely are familiar with a money date. This is where you actually go ahead and take a look at your finances and do it in the format of a date. Okay. So this is where we bring in the ease, the pleasure, the flirtation, the fun, right? Because when you think about going on a date, now you might be thinking like, okay, I get really excited about a date. Or you could be like, I don't like people. I don't want to go on a date. However, I want to then invite you into what about going on a date with yourself, right? If you got alone time, dates don't have to be with another person. We're talking about a date with money right now. So what I'm saying is think about that opportunity to go on a date, right? Getting dressed up, maybe being at home in your cozy outfit, if it's maybe just with you, right? Being able to, put on your favorite lipstick, put on your favorite outfit, go out and get something delicious to eat. Really enjoying yourself, right? Enjoying yourself, enjoying the flirtation of being with someone new or someone you absolutely love and adore. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's, a significant other, but it's that opportunity, right? To go on a date and get to know someone or spend time with yourself, right? And so this is the opportunity to get to know your money, whatever area that may be. You may be wanting to know, oh, what am I spending my money on? You may be facing a challenge of knowing where your debt is at, right? You may be wondering where your business finances are at and what you've been spending on. But a money date is where you actually ask yourself, okay, what is going to help my nervous system feel safe to engage with my finances? Okay. So the big aspect here is really thinking through, okay, I want this to be easy and pleasure filled and fun, right? Whatever works for you. And what would help my nervous system do that? Is it being at home in a fluffy robe in your bed with your computer, taking a look at your bank account, having some chamomile tea and like lavender oil next to you, right? Is it going out to a cafe, ordering the most delicious coffee of your life with a chocolate croissant, right? And looking at your finances on your computer? Is it, or maybe your phone, right? What feels less activating for your nervous system? Is it bringing a little sultry into the situation and being like, okay, I'm going to get my favorite lingerie on. I'm going to go ahead and put on my silk robe and like sit down with a glass of wine and chocolate covered strawberries, right? Is it, oh no, I'm going to be like a total boss babe. I'm going to put my blazer on. I'm going to put my lipstick on. I'm going to have like a green juice and like be at my desk and like full energy, right? Like these are all ways in which you can engage with your money in a fun and playful way. And so let me know if you've heard of this concept before, because you may have heard of a money date, but I have not seen anyone across the internet talk about it in this way. And it's something that I've been teaching for years. And so I really, really want to encourage you to ask yourself, what would be a fun and playful way for me to engage with my finances and go ahead and start managing my money, right? So go ahead and start to let me know what your flavor of money date looks like, what feels good, and really consider that, right? And actually then I want you to schedule it out. I want you to like think about the type of money you want to take a look at, being your business finances, the personal side, maybe debt, savings, whatever it might be, but actually then giving the time and attention to your money, right? Because I want to really invite you into being present with this workshop for the next 4 days and realizing that you're interrupting a pattern. You're interrupting a pattern of potentially not consistently showing up with your money, maybe being in avoidance of your money, which makes complete sense considering what the current financial industry totes, right? So I really want to encourage you to go ahead and be like, oh, wow, like I'm interrupting a pattern by showing up for this workshop every single day. And maybe you schedule, your money date for the 5th day, or maybe you schedule it during these days where the workshops are happening, but you actually take the time to engage with your finances in a whole new way and see how it feels, right? I want to encourage you to watch these live or catch the replays and really commit to that every single day, because you're going to be interrupting a pattern of showing up for your money consistently and creating, right, a new way of being with your finances and being able to show yourself that you can trust yourself with money, that you can trust yourself with your mindset and create a total shift, right? So the very first thing is finding this new way of engaging with your finances and doing it through the strategy of a money date, choosing ease and pleasure, choosing fun and flirtation, and seeing what fits for you. The next thing that I want you to do is more of a mindset shift in how we start to engage in managing our finances. So often we, lean into the common language of financial management, which I totally get. However, the financial management language can be so dusty and crusty and totally pull out all the fun and enjoyment of financial management. I want you to be excited about managing your money. I want you to be, looking forward to and finding it fun and getting excited and turned on about your desires and what you're working towards when it comes to your financial goals. I mean, come on, even financial goals doesn't even sound that exciting. I tend to call them financial desires. I think that this is more playful. I think this is more fun. I think that it makes me feel excited. And so I lean into financial desires. So I really want to invite you into considering the language you use when it comes to your finances. So for instance, right, this can be something that is like when we look at just, for instance, even a budget, right? Have you ever considered how a budget makes you feel? Have you ever considered wow, I just don't even like how that word feels. It feels so restrictive. It feels like no good. It feels like I am just doing everything wrong. And it's like something that I'm just never measuring up to, right? So what if instead we actually called it a financial plan, right? What if instead, you were like, oh, this is actually my money vault, right? It shows you where your money is going, where you've spent your money, where you can celebrate spending your money, right? And so I really want to invite you into, right, considering the language you're using. Even your savings accounts, you're allowed to change, right? I think this is so common because I think one of the main things, right, that all the financial people talk about is you need an emergency savings, you need an emergency savings, you need an emergency savings. How does that make you feel though? Thinking of an emergency coming up and what that money gets to be used for. What if instead it was just a quality of life savings? Right? What if it was just like, oh yeah, like I want to make sure that like quality of life stays okay and like everything's all right. And so it's just like, this is the quality of life, right? Or, it was just, what if this became like unexpected surprises, right? And we brought a little more humor and playfulness into it instead of it being this emergency fund that's like, you're not set, you're not prepared, right? And so what does it look like for you to change the language that you're using when it comes to your finances, changing the word budget into something that works for you? This can go all the way down to the categories within your financial plan, right? I love the surprise fund I'm seeing in the comments. Oh, so fabulous. I've only been doing money dates since you introduced them to me. The dates have evolved, but I'm still struggling to infuse the pleasure aspects. Yes, Heather, I completely understand that. It can be really challenging sometimes to infuse the pleasure into our money dates because it can feel like a lot of prep. And sometimes we might not have enough time for that. And so I always encourage people to just reach for 1 degree more pleasurable, right? So for instance, this can look like just checking up on your bank account or credit card. It doesn't need to be like a whole big event or date, but saying like, oh, I'm going to take this moment in the morning with my coffee and just really enjoy sipping like the first sips of a fresh cup of coffee or the first sips of, a hot cup of tea. Like enjoying those moments and bringing them into my money date, right? Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming to need to infuse so much pleasure, so much planning into our money date. So it's just like, oh, how can I infuse just a little bit, like 1 degree more of pleasure into or ease into this money date? And what does that look like for me, right? Or maybe it's just a dance party ahead of time, right? Putting on your favorite money song and like dancing around and like going into your money date, or even doing that after. So I definitely understand it can sometimes be a little challenging to infuse that pleasure. So definitely think through going back to the language. This is a big mindset shift, right? Because we're talking about shifting the way that society currently relates to money and deciding to create our own chosen language around this. And as I was saying, this can even go down, like this can even trickle all the way down into your financial planner when you're looking at potentially categories of what you're spending on, right? Sometimes it can feel really crappy to have like rent or mortgage written in there, right? And instead you could just rename that home sweet home, right? You could have like, your instead of groceries, you could say like food that nurtures me, right? There's all these ways in which you can honor your financial desires in the language that you choose. Because in all honesty, who's going to be seeing your financial plan? And I mean, unless you're working with me, right? Because we'll look at your financial plan together. It's like, who's going to be seeing it? You and your partner potentially. And so then like you're incorporating your desires and you guys are having maybe a healthier communication around your finances and you're both feeling more empowered. But the thing here is, right, is that you start to feel more empowered by your financial relationship. And so deciding to shift your language into language that feels empowering to you, that takes your desires into consideration, that honors where you are at, right? That actually honors your nervous system, right? And what feels activating to you is so, so, so important. And so this is something that is so unique about the feminine finance methodology and the one that I teach, right? And this goes across the board, right? This goes across the board from business finances to personal finances, right? Like, it's so important for us to consider the language we're using, right? And this goes down as well. I was talking about the example of saying like, oh, I can't afford it. And it's like, can you not afford it? Or are you just choosing not to spend your money there? Right? Like, feel the difference of when you say that, of when you say like, oh, I can't afford that, right? Or we can't afford that, right? But then instead being like, oh, I'm choosing not to spend my money there. I'm choosing not to spend my money in that action. Do you see the like power you reclaim and like, oh yeah, I'm in control here. I know my money and this is an active choice, right? And so I really want you to invite you into, over these next 4 days or this week, of reflecting on like where you see your mind going and how, in the language it uses in relation to money, right? And really thinking through that and really thinking through, oh, what would be more fun and exciting ways to relate to my money in this new language? Definitely drop them in the comments, because I think, again, this goes back to the aspect of community. Like, if you have different ways of relating to your money, like different language, go ahead and drop in the comments, like, budget equals, financial plan or something like that, because you are going to inspire other people. You are going to get other people so excited about a new way of relating to their money in the creative ways that we see our finances. I can guarantee it, because all those examples, right? Like the quality of life fund, money vault, those are all things that different clients have come up with and have inspired other people to relate in new, more empowered ways with their money. So I want to invite you into these two aspects of the strategy of a money date, and really thinking through what's going to allow you to easily, pleasurably, more fun, have more fun engagement in managing your finances. And that can be, a money date can happen for the personal or business finances. And really think through, what is the flirtatious, empowering language you want to implement when it comes to this money shift relationship that you are cultivating right now in these next 4 days. So with that, I cannot wait to have you join me for the next 3 days as we continue going over different topics. I'm seeing in the comments, so true. Language evokes so much energy and emotion. It's so true, right? The focus that we are having here, right, is learning how to be emotionally secure with our money, how to build, a abundant mindset, how to go ahead and realize that we can have peace with our money, we can enjoy spending, we can trust that it'll be okay, because we know what the hell we're doing with our money, right? And like, it's possible for you. Expansion is possible. Financial stability and like a financially stable future is possible for you. And we're really going to be talking about that over the next 4 days. These are just the first steps, right? These are just the first steps in our money shift movement. So if you've enjoyed this, go ahead and leave a like, leave a comment. You can subscribe to my channels. It always helps. I am so excited for you guys to be joining me. And these are the first steps to that abundance mindset. They're the first steps to peace with your money. They're the first steps to enjoying what you're spending your money on, right? And trusting yourself with money, because it's all possible when you start to shift these aspects, right? When you start to engage with your money in these, enjoyable and pleasurable ways, when you start to shift your language. And so I'm so excited for those of you who are able to join me live. If you're catching the replay, I'm also super excited. And definitely drop your questions below. I'm excited for the next 3 days. And with that, I will see you all later. Bye.